Alright, food lovers, buckle up, because today we're talking about a chef so controversial, so mind-blowingly talented, and so obsessed with perfection, he makes Gordon Ramsay look chill. That's right, we're diving into the wild, unconventional, and borderline obsessive world of Dan Barber. The man who isn't just cooking food, he's rewriting the rules of what food even is. He's been called a genius, a madman, and oh yeah, one of the best chefs in the entire world. But what makes Dan Barber so different? Why do his ideas spark both admiration and controversy? And why, when he speaks, even the most elite chefs lean in and take notes? Well, my friends, this is the story of a man who isn't just changing food, he's changing the future. Let's rewind. Dan Barber wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but did he grow up with a dirt-covered one? Raised in New York, Barber spent his childhood summers at his grandmother's farm, where he got his first taste, literally, of what fresh, real food was. And unlike most kids who wanted to be astronauts or superheroes, Barber had a different dream. He wanted to make people taste food the way it was meant to be tasted. But here's where things take a turn. Instead of going the traditional chef route, culinary school, fancy kitchens, Michelin stars, Barber went full-on mad scientist mode. He started experimenting, studying soil like a chemist, obsessed over seeds like a botanist, and somewhere along the way, he realized something. The real secret to incredible food? It isn't just the technique, it's the ingredients. And with that realization, Dan Barber went to war. Now, let's talk about what really makes Dan Barber, Dan Barber. Unlike most chefs who just work with ingredients, Barber creates them. He literally engineers new flavors by working hand in hand with farmers and scientists. The guy is basically a food hacker. If Elon Musk and Julia Child had a baby, it might just be Dan Barber. Exhibit A, the Barber wheat. Yep, you heard that right. Dan Barber was so disgusted by modern wheat, stripped of flavor, mass-produced, boring, that he worked with a scientist to create an entirely new strain of wheat. One with deeper flavor, richer nutrients, and a texture so good it made Michelin-starred chefs weep into their risottos. And it didn't stop there. Exhibit B, the 75-day egg. Most eggs in stores, laid by stressed-out, overworked chickens crammed into tiny spaces. Barber thought that was a tragedy. So he found a farm that let chickens roam freely, eat a natural diet, and lay fewer eggs. The result? An egg with so much flavor. It tasted like a completely different food. One critic called it the Fabergé egg of breakfast. But where does all this magic happen? Enter Blue Hill at Stone Barns. Now, this isn't just any restaurant, it's an ecosystem. A living laboratory where every single dish starts before the ingredients even grow. The farm at Stone Barns is where Barber and his team experiment with crops, breed new vegetables, and even rethink how animals are raised. Everything here serves a purpose. The pigs, they're fed scraps from the kitchen. The cows, they graze rotationally to help restore the soil. And, oh, remember that wheat Barber invented? Yeah, that's grown right here. One guest said eating at Blue Hill felt like being inside a TED Talk you can chew. But it goes even deeper than that. Barber isn't just using the farm as a source of ingredients, he's using it as a testing ground for the future of food itself. He experiments with different soil techniques, introduces heirloom vegetables that were once forgotten, and even works on breeding better tasting produce with farmers. Not for mass production, just for flavor. And just when you think Dan Barber can't get more extra, let's talk about his bone charcoal. Most chefs, when they get a cow, they use the meat. Maybe the bones for stock, and that's it. But Barber, he looked at cow bones and thought, grill fuel. He literally turns bones into charcoal to cook the meat of the very animal they came from. It's like the circle of life, but in barbecue form. Genius. Who would have ever thought to do that sort of chef magic? But wait, there's more. Barber also created a new breed of pumpkin that's so sweet and rich, it barely needs seasoning. He's worked on heritage breeds of pigs that have marbling like Wagyu beef. And he's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with vegetables, turning them into complex multi-layered dishes that rival the best meat dishes in the world. It's sustainability taken to the extreme. Some say genius, others say a little unsettling. But hey, When has Dan Barber ever played it safe? Now here's where things get spicy. Dan Barber isn't just a chef, he's a food activist. And sometimes that ruffles feathers. Literally. Barber has openly criticized the entire food industry, calling it broken, lazy, and profit-driven at the expense of real flavor. He slammed industrial farming, exposed the truth about farm-to-table scams, and even rejected customers who demanded certain menu items. Yep, you heard that right. At Blue Hill, you don't pick your meal. Barber tells you what you're eating. Some people call it bold, others call it arrogant. His approach? A multi-course tasting menu based on what's best that day, meaning you might get something you never expected or even wanted. A few customers have stormed out, others have called it pretentious, but for those who stay, they leave with a new understanding of food. One diner even said it was life-changing, but also I kind of wanted a cheeseburger. Despite the controversies, one thing is undeniable. Dan Barber is a legend. He's been on Netflix's Chef's Table, won countless awards, and advised actual world leaders on how to fix broken food systems. But is he really the best chef in the world? Well, that depends on how you define best. One thing's for sure, Dan Barber isn't just feeding people. He's changing the way we think about food, one radical idea at a time. And that's a recipe for a revolution. Whoa, you're still here? That means you must love mind-blowing food stories, juicy chef drama, and all the weird, wonderful, and slightly obsessive things happening in the culinary world. Well, guess what? That's exactly what we do here at Food Face. So if you want more deep dives into the wildest food legends, kitchen controversies, and chefs who are basically mad scientists, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, your taste buds will thank you.